Did you know that stories are 22 times more memorable than facts alone? That's right, our brains are wired to remember stories. But what makes a story stick in your mind? It's not just the plot or the characters. It's the themes that give stories their power. Themes are the hidden threads that weave your story together. They add depth and meaning, making your tale resonate with the audience. In this video, we'll reveal 6 secrets to incorporating powerful themes into your stories. These are not your usual tips. We'll dive deep into unique strategies that can transform your storytelling. Shocking fact: 63% of people say that relatable characters make a story better. Yet, many storytellers miss this crucial element. We'll show you how to create characters that strike a chord with your audience. Here's another surprise. The University of Iowa found that people enjoy stories more when they uncover hidden meanings. We'll teach you how to use symbolism and subtext to add these layers of meaning. By the end of this video, you'll have a toolkit of techniques to make your stories unforgettable. Ready to unlock the secrets? Let's dive in and discover how to weave powerful themes into your storytelling. Chapter 1: Unlocking Emotional Resonance. Emotional resonance is the heart of great storytelling. It's what makes a story unforgettable. To tap into this, you need to create characters your audience can empathize with. When people see a bit of themselves in your characters, they become invested in their journey. Consider this: 63% of people say that relatable characters make a story better. Start by giving your characters real, relatable struggles. Show their vulnerabilities. When a character faces an obstacle, it should feel personal to the audience. Use emotional arcs to keep your audience hooked. An emotional arc is the journey of feelings your character goes through. It can be from despair to hope or fear to bravery. This arc needs to be clear and impactful. A study by Harvard Business Review found that people remember stories up to 22 times more than facts alone. So, the emotions in your story will stick with your audience. Also, don't forget to use sensory details. Describe what your characters see, hear, and feel. This brings your audience into the story, making them feel like they're part of it. Quotes can also evoke strong emotions. For instance, in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series, Dumbledore's line, "Happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light," resonates deeply. It's simple, yet powerful. Another key is showing, not telling. Instead of saying a character is sad, show them staring at a photo, tears streaming down their face. This paints a vivid picture and connects on an emotional level. Psychology today notes that our brains are wired to respond to stories. When we hear a story, our brains release oxytocin, a hormone that promotes empathy. So, crafting emotional scenes can literally change how your audience feels. Chapter 2: Weaving symbolism into your narrative. Symbolism adds depth to your story. It gives your audience something to think about long after the story ends. Symbols are objects, characters, or events that represent larger ideas. They can be powerful tools for conveying themes. For example, in The Great Gatsby, the green light symbolizes Gatsby's unreachable dreams. It's a small detail, but it carries a lot of meaning. To create your own symbols, think about the core themes of your story. Then, find objects or actions that can represent these themes. Symbols don't have to be obvious. In fact, subtle symbols are often more powerful. They give your audience something to discover on their own. This makes them feel smart and engaged. A study by the University of Iowa found that people enjoy stories more when they uncover hidden meanings. So, using symbolism can make your story more enjoyable. You can also use recurring symbols to reinforce your theme. For instance, if your story is about freedom, you might include birds or open skies throughout the narrative. These recurring symbols can tie your story together and keep the theme front and center. Quotes from literature can show how effective symbolism can be. In George Orwell's 1984, Big Brother is a symbol of oppressive government surveillance. It's a powerful image that stays with readers. To weave symbols seamlessly into your narrative, introduce them naturally. Don't force them into the story. Let them emerge from the plot and characters. Also, use your setting to create symbolism. The environment can reflect your theme. For example, a story about decay might be set in a crumbling city. This sets the tone and reinforces the theme without needing to say it outright. Finally, remember that symbols can evolve. As your characters grow, the meaning of the symbols can change. This adds depth to your story and keeps your audience engaged. For example, a wedding ring might symbolize love at the beginning of a story, but become a symbol of betrayal later on. Chapter 3: Harnessing the Power of Archetypes. Archetypes are universal symbols that everyone understands. They tap into collective experiences and emotions. Using them can make your story resonate more deeply with your audience. Think about the hero's journey, a classic archetype. This template has been used in countless stories, from Star Wars to The Lion King. It follows a hero who ventures out, faces challenges, and returns transformed. This structure is powerful because it mirrors our own experiences of growth and change. To harness the power of archetypes, start by identifying the key archetypes in your story. Is your main character a hero, a mentor, or perhaps a trickster? Each archetype brings specific qualities and expectations. Understanding these can help you craft more compelling characters. According to Carl Jung, archetypes are part of our collective unconscious. This means that they are hardwired into our brains. When you use them in your story, you're tapping into something primal. In Joseph Campbell's The Hero with 1,000 Faces, he discusses the monomyth or hero's journey. This idea has influenced many modern storytellers. Campbell's work shows that these patterns are timeless and universal. Archetypes aren't just for characters. They can be applied to plots and themes as well. For example, the Rags to Riches story is a plot archetype that appeals to our sense of hope and possibility. To make archetypes work for you, avoid cliches. Instead of a generic hero, give your hero unique traits. Maybe they have an unusual background or a distinct flaw. This makes them more relatable and interesting. Statistics show that stories with strong archetypes are more memorable. A study by Stanford University found that people remember information better when it is presented in a story format. This is because stories engage more parts of our brain. Another key is to mix and match archetypes. Your mentor could also have elements of the trickster. This adds complexity and keeps your audience guessing. Quotes from famous stories can illustrate the power of archetypes. In The Hobbit, Gandalf tells Bilbo, "There is more in you of good than you know, child of the kindly West. Some courage and some wisdom, blended in measure." This highlights Bilbo's journey from a reluctant hero to a brave adventurer. Chapter 4: Mastering the Art of Subtext. Subtext is the hidden layer of meaning in your story. It's what's not said but implied. Mastering subtext can make your storytelling richer and more engaging. To create subtext, focus on what's beneath the surface. Dialogue is a great place to start. Instead of having characters say exactly what they mean, let them hint at it. This makes the audience work a bit, which keeps them engaged. For example, in Pride and Prejudice, Mr. Darcy's proposal to Elizabeth Bennet is loaded with subtext. He talks about his feelings and social status, but the underlying tension and his struggle with pride are clear. According to a study by the University of California, people find stories with subtext more satisfying. This is because they enjoy uncovering hidden meanings. It makes them feel like active participants in the story. Body language can also convey subtext. A character might say they're fine, but their clenched fists or averted gaze tell a different story. This adds depth and realism. A quote from Ernest Hemingway encapsulates the power of subtext. If a writer knows enough about what he is writing, he may omit things that he knows, and the reader, if the writer is writing truly enough, will have a feeling of those things as strongly as though the writer had stated them. Use settings to create subtext too. A beautifully decorated room can contrast with a character's inner turmoil, hinting at hidden conflicts. Subtext is also great for revealing character traits. Instead of stating that a character is generous, show them giving away their last bit of food. Actions speak louder than words. Statistics show that subtlety can be powerful. The Nielsen-Norman group found that people engage more deeply with content that requires some level of interpretation. This means that subtext can actually make your story more captivating. Another strategy is to use contrast. Show a character's public facade versus their private struggles. This duality can create rich subtext and make your characters more complex. Lastly, trust your audience. You don't need to spell everything out. Let them read between the lines. This can make your story more rewarding and memorable. By mastering the art of subtext, you add layers of meaning to your story. This engages your audience on a deeper level and makes your narrative more compelling. Chapter 5: Creating conflict that conveys meaning. Conflict is the engine of your story. It keeps the plot moving and the audience engaged. But not all conflicts are created equal. To create conflict that conveys meaning, you need to go beyond simple disagreements. Start by making the conflict personal. The stakes should matter deeply to your characters. This creates a more emotional experience for your audience. For example, in The Hunger Games, the conflict isn't just about survival. It's about Katniss fighting for her family and defying a corrupt system. According to a study by the American Psychological Association, stories with high emotional stakes are more memorable. This means that personal conflicts will stick with your audience long after they've finished your story. Use different types of conflict to add depth. Internal conflicts, where characters struggle with their own fears or desires, can be very powerful. External conflicts, such as battles or competitions, add excitement. Interpersonal conflicts, where characters clash with each other, create drama and tension. Quotes from literature can illustrate this. In To Kill a Mockingbird, Atticus Finch says, "You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb into his skin and walk around in it." This highlights the internal conflict of understanding and empathy. Another strategy is to raise the stakes. The higher the stakes, the more invested your audience will be. Make sure the consequences of the conflict are significant. This keeps the tension high and the audience on the edge of their seats. Statistics show that people are more engaged with stories that have high stakes. The Pew Research Center found that audiences prefer stories with clear, impactful conflicts. You can also use moral dilemmas to create meaningful conflict. When characters face tough choices with no easy answers, it adds complexity to your story. For example, in Sophie's Choice, the protagonist's moral dilemma is heart-wrenching and unforgettable. Consider using unpredictable conflicts. Surprising twists keep your audience guessing and add excitement. But make sure these twists are believable and consistent with your story's world. Quotes can add depth to your conflicts. In 1984, George Orwell writes, "War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength." This shows the internal and external conflicts in a dystopian society. Finally, resolve conflicts in a way that reinforces your theme. The resolution should feel earned and satisfying. It should also underline the message you want to convey. Chapter 6. Thematic Threads. Integrating themes seamlessly. Integrating themes seamlessly into your story can be tricky. But when done right, it adds a layer of depth and cohesion. Themes should emerge naturally from your characters and plot. Start by identifying the core theme of your story. What message do you want to convey? This could be anything from the importance of friendship to the dangers of unchecked power. Once you have your theme, think about how it can be reflected in every aspect of your story. According to a study by the University of Southern California, stories with clear themes are more impactful. Audiences connect better with stories that have a strong, cohesive message. Use recurring motifs to reinforce your theme. These can be objects, phrases, or actions that appear throughout your story. For example, in The Great Gatsby, the green light is a recurring motif that symbolizes Gatsby's unreachable dreams. Quotes from literature can show how themes are integrated. In Moby Dick, Herman Melville writes, "Call me Ishmael." This simple opening line sets up themes of isolation and identity. Another strategy is to let your characters embody the theme. Their actions, decisions, and growth should reflect the core message. For example, in Harry Potter, Harry's bravery and loyalty highlight the themes of courage and friendship. Statistics show that audiences prefer stories where themes are integrated naturally. The Nielsen-Norman Group found that stories with subtle, well-woven themes are more engaging. You can also use your setting to reinforce the theme. The environment should reflect the story's mood and message. For example, a decaying city can symbolize lost dreams or societal decline. Quotes from famous stories can help illustrate themes. In The Catcher in the Rye, J.D. Salinger writes, "The mark of the immature man is that he wants to die nobly for a cause, while the mark of the mature man is that he wants to live humbly for one." This reflects the theme of growing up. Make sure your plot supports the theme. The events of the story should naturally lead to a deeper understanding of the theme. This makes the theme feel earned rather than forced. Finally, use dialogue to highlight the theme. Characters can discuss the core message or express their thoughts and feelings in a way that reinforces it. But be subtle, let the theme emerge naturally. By integrating themes seamlessly, you create a richer, more cohesive story. Your audience will appreciate the depth and thoughtfulness, making your story more memorable and impactful.